Hey to YouTube, this is Jeff aka 101 Bronson and welcoming you all to the next installment in my Collecting James Bond series. In this episode I'm going to show you the video games that I've collected over the years of James Bond. And to be honest, I still occasionally I play all these games still. PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, unfortunately hasn't been anything in terms of James Bond video games since the 007 Legends for PS3. Really hoping they're going to step up and do some Bond games in the future again because I always loved playing them as a kid. And to tell you the god awful truth, one of the James Bond games for the PS2 was actually my very first introduction to the James Bond character, into the James Bond universe. So I'm really excited to show you that and talk about it a little bit. So yeah, here we go, showing you my James Bond PlayStation video games. Alright, here we go, and the very first video game for the PS2 released is Agent Under Fire, or 007 Agent Under Fire, or James Bond 007 in Agent Under Fire as it says on the spine. So yeah, old PlayStation 2 game, 2001 if I'm not mistaken is this when this was released. Dutch version once again, so the writing here is in Dutch. Here's the game disc. Yeah, what can I say? This is a James Bond video game around the Pierce Brosnan era. This was released, of course. It has an original story. It's not based on any of the films. And it's a damn bloody good game. There's some great driving sections. The shooting is okay. The controls actually for the time are still playable. I played this actually a couple of days ago, along with the next one I'm going to show you. And it still holds up. They would definitely benefit from a remaster of these old Bond games. I really wish that somebody would do a remaster of them because they were bloody great. And this next one right here is my introduction to James Bond, 007 Nightfire, 2002, released the same year as Die Another Day, featuring the likeness of Pierce Brosnan, not his voice but his likeness. This was just absolutely fantastic. I remember playing the multiplayer with my friends, you know, the split screen multiplayer, quite a bit back in the day. The actual game itself, the missions and everything, great driving sections. This is it's actually still in the PS2 because I did play this the other day, like I said. This is still my favorite Bond game that they ever did. It just hasn't been topped. Again, there's a little bit of a disclaimer that I do have to give. I never played the original, you know, Nintendo 64 Goldeneye game, which is, you know, the most popular Bond game. I never played that. It was released a little bit before my time. It was actually released the same year I was born. However, when this game was released 2002, I was a youngster. You know, I was 5 years old or something. I was just getting into gaming. We just had a PS2. My brother had this game. I played it. I loved it. I fell in love with James Bond. I fell in love with the world. And this is really the genesis of my fandom for Bond, Nightfire. And anyway, next up was another EA Games release for Everything or Nothing, featuring again the likeness of Pierce Brosnan and the voice this time. He actually did the voice. This was released in 2004, if I'm not mistaken. Really, one can consider this the unofficial fifth Pierce Brosnan film. This is as close as we ever got to a fifth Pierce Brosnan film because, yeah, this game is fantastic. It even features a very high-end cast, actually. You have Pierce Brosnan, not just every person here does the voice and the likeness. Pierce Brosnan, Heidi Klum, Willem Dafoe is the villain, Shannon Elizabeth, Richard Kiel comes back as Jaws, Maya, okay, I don't know her, John Cleese and Judi Dench, they're all in the game. They're all doing the voice and, you know, they have the likenesses. And it's third person rather than first person this time around. But it's a great game. It's a great game. Next up was really the first sort of flop for EA in terms of the Bond games, capitalizing on that famous property, Goldeneye. This game is called Goldeneye Rogue Agent. Actually, a interesting game, I really have to say, in concept. You play as a villain. You play as a Bond villain. You don't play as James Bond in this game, but you play as a villain. You team up with the other villains, you know, Goldfinger, Oddjob, Pussy Galore, Dr. No. It has a lot of potential, but the execution, it just makes it a sort of run-of-the-mill basic shooter with some quirky mechanics. and overall the gameplay was just a little bit lackluster, but I do still have a soft spot for it, especially for the multiplayer, which again, just like with Nightfire, I used to play a hell of a lot back in the day. So yeah. Anyway, next up, I still will never know how they were able to pull it off, but it is a video game of From Russia with Love with Sean Connery coming back, doing the voice, giving his likeness, recording brand new dialogue for the James Bond character, which he swore he would never talk about again in interviews. He hated it. He hated being part of James Bond, but he still came back to do this game. Forgive the Sean Connery impression. But yeah, you play as the Sean Connery Bond in the 60s era, based on From Russia with Love. However, they use elements from actually all of Connery's films. There's the jetpack from Thunderball in it, the Aston Martin DB5 from Goldfinger is in it, so it's not purely a From Russia with Love adaptation. Yes, the general story is there, but like I said, it features elements from pretty much all of the other Connery films, which I absolutely love. This might be my second favorite of the EA produced Bond games from back in the day, and unfortunately this was to be the last one. This was released in 2005. We were just in that period where there was no Bond, so that's why GoldenEye Rogue Agent happened, because they didn't know what to do. And for this one they decided to go back and use an old Bond. I really wonder if there's like an alternate universe where they got Roger Moore to come back and they did a Roger Moore video game. I mean, or I wish there was a sequel to this where they did that, you know, what they did with Connery here, but they bring back Roger Moore for the video game, because obviously by this time Sean Connery was actually retired from movie making, and you know, he was in his 70s, 80s. Obviously he would have been too old to play a live action Bond, you know, even if he wanted. But in a video game, you know, you're there forever, you know. Although, I have to be honest, it is still weird seeing a 60s Sean Connery, you know, like he appeared in the films, and hearing an old man Connery voice coming out of it. That is a little off-putting, but I can forgive that easily, because it's Sean fucking Connery, man. This is officially the last thing that he ever did as James Bond. So yeah, there it is. Anyway, that's the last of the EA video games. In 2008 for the PS3, it was a new company behind the games. It was Activision. Arguably, these are the worst Bond games, even though this one I do think is pretty decent. Quantum of Solace, of course, based on the film, which I'm not a fan of, but this game actually mixes the story of Casino Royale and Quantum, sort of combines them, which I do like, obviously, for the Casino Royale levels. Yeah, Activision, it is more of a Call of Duty-esque game than it is anything else, with a Bond, you know, slap of paint on it. However, I do like this one. They play the Bond theme is blaring, you know, throughout the game when you do stuff like, you know, in every level you hear that ding 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 ding, and it just puts you in the shoes of Bond. It's first person, but when you go in the cover you see a great model of Daniel Craig, you know, it goes into third person. I don't know, I dig this game. I always had a soft spot for it. Next video game though is actually, it says Activision, but it's a different company that put this out. This is, I guess I got this from Germany because it has German certification on it. I believe, what was the people that made this game? I believe it's this, but I can't make it out. Oh yeah, Bizarre Entertainment or something. It's third person. It's a completely original Daniel Craig story. So one could consider it as a little unofficial Daniel Craig adventure. And it's a pretty good one. The villains aren't memorable though, and there aren't... I believe there are driving sections in it, but they weren't really up to the standards that like the EA games used to have. I mean, the thing is, with the Daniel Craig era, there's always has been a lack of gadgets, even in the games. Pretty much the only gadget Bond gets in the Daniel Craig video games is his cell phone, where he can do stuff on. But back in the Pierce Brosnan era, when you had those games, you know, Bond had a laser watch. just name it, repelling hooks, whatever. It was just gadget laden, and it was more Bondy. And however, I get it, you know, with the Daniel Craig films and his universe, his era, gadgets have been sort of put in the background. I get it, but anyway, next up is a sort of remake of the original Goldeneye game, Goldeneye Reloaded, right here. Yeah, this is pretty much the story of the Goldeneye film, but then with Daniel Craig in it. And this is really this is Bond Call of Duty. It doesn't even have any third person stuff in it. It's just all first person. It's like I said, they just use the same Call of Duty engine. It's pretty much Call of Duty, but then you're playing not as a army bloke. You're playing as James Bond in a Call of Duty game. So yeah, I was never a fan of this one and the next one in particular, because this next one here is the ultimate downfall. It's the absolute bottom of the barrel. 007 Legends from 2012. For the 50th anniversary, this was released, featuring levels and missions from all, not all, but from each of the Bond actors' tenure. So you have Goldfinger in there. Oh, here's the levels and missions. You have a mission entire level based on Goldfinger, Moonraker, Diner Day, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which should really please me because that's my favorite film, but actually that's probably my least favorite level. And you have License to Kill and Skyfall DLC, which really was just, yeah, at least it was free, I have to say that. At least Activision had the decency to make that free DLC instead of, you know, what they do nowadays. They pay you they charge you for a fucking skin. They really are money hungry these days. But yeah, this game, bad gameplay, like I said, it's basically, once again, it's just Call of Duty. I liked that they sort of tried to make it work with having Daniel Craig as the Bond in each of the old adventures, but it just fell flat. It just, I mean, it's not an unplayable game, but I'd take any of the EA games over this any day of the week if I had a choice. I'd take the Quantum of Solace game over this one. Bloodstone I would do. However, GoldenEye Reloaded and this one, for me, those are the two worst of these Activision Bond games. So those are all the Bond games. Do hope you all enjoyed once again. Let me know down in the comments your thoughts on some of the games, and if you've played them, of course. And look forward to seeing the next installment in the Bond collecting series, which will be up soon as well. And as always, stay safe and healthy out there, and keep punching, keep collecting, and I'll see you all very soon.